Hello, and welcome to the Unfiltered Copenhagen podcast. This is a show where we talk about the news in and around Copenhagen and also a little bit about our lives. I'm your host, Ford, and with me is.
Yeah, I'm Rodolfo.
And today we're going to talk about the best times to take a shit when you're on a plane.
Yeah, what's that article about? That caught my attention. I never had to take a shit on a plane, though.
Yeah.
I guess I'm lucky.
I don't know.
Have you?
Yeah, I was telling you, I've had to take a shit on. Like, actually, one time when I was coming here, like 3 or 4 years ago to visit, I ate a Five Guys burger in the Washington airport before I came. And I got food poisoning from it, for sure. Because the whole week I was here, I was like in a bad situation. But I remember on the plane, I had to, even like shortly after I ate the fucking thing, I started feeling bad. And I had to take like an explosive diarrhea dump at like, 10,000 meters. It was not very pretty.
What happens? Like, because the way the toilet is cleaned is not with water, but just with suction. So I always imagine that there could be ways that remains could stay there in that anti-adherent special toilet.
I think a little bit of water is actually used, not much. And also, or maybe it's not. But anyways, the toilet there seems to be coated with some sort of oleophobic like material.
Non-sticky.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of like when you have that Rain-X stuff on your windshield, like so that it makes sure that the water beads up and then just runs off with
it's
the
wind. It's like a deformed frying pan.
Maybe. I don't know
with
about
the
that.
coating.
Anyways,
the non-sticky coating.
The coating is called oleophobic, and it's just prevents liquid from sticking to it.
Only liquid.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, liquids and liquid-like solids or whatever. But when I had that burger, it was some liquid-like solids. It wasn't fully solid. That was great, but
The burger?
The burger tasted great, but I guess somebody didn't wash their hands or something. It didn't go down very well.
I wasn't crazy about Five Guys, you said?
Yeah.
I was there once only last time I was in New York in September.
I don't know.
I wasn't crazy about it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Five Guys is basically Yo Burger is the closest thing you have to Five Guys. They're almost identical.
I did
Not in the experience itself, but in the burger itself, it's the same to me.
I don't know. I was a bit underwhelmed because I had heard so much about them and it just didn't fulfill my expectations.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe it had been too much hype.
The other thing too is that kind of burger is a more thin style patty, and I prefer, and so is Yo Burger. The patties are kind of thin, and I prefer like the thick style where it's more rare in the center of the burger, like the ones they make at Greasy Spoon.
Yeah, like some pink meat.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you have that thin one, it's nice. It's cooked all the way through, but then you don't really have any rare meat at all. So in that sense, I think it loses some flavor.
I don't know exactly what it was. I just remember that I was slightly underwhelmed.
So it says the best time to take a shit on a plane is right after the sign on the safety belt off goes. You can actually be lucky. You can get up to 10 minutes for yourself before somebody knocks on the door. I think that's actually the worst time to go.
It's the worst for everybody else because basically you're going to contaminate the toilet for the rest of the trip. You know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's the best time because nobody's actually used the toilet yet except maybe the pilot right before he took off. And, maybe he left a stinker in there
so
for you.
So the chance of somebody else having taken a shit there is much lower if you're the first one, of course. But then you're going to become the first one.
But what I'm saying is this article is talking about, do you need some privacy when you take a shit? So the best time is right after the seatbelt sign goes off. I think that's wrong. Every time the seatbelt sign goes off, 10 people get up to go take a piss. Whenever I'm on a plane. So anyways, whatever. That's the best time to take a shit according to this shitty clickbait article.
Yeah, this actually sounds like an article that's not really that interesting.
I don't think, by Niels Fries. I don't think he really...
Niels, you have to try a bit harder.
He wrote a total of like 100 words. I don't think he really...
Well, how much can you talk about what's the best time to take a shit?
I could honestly probably talk like an hour.
Can you click on his name and see what other kind of articles he has? Because I think we have...
Yeah, but we were on this Gordon Ramsay, what you shouldn't eat when you're on vacation or something, but... We're just by the way, we're just clicking around on Extra Bottle for like really clickbaity articles this week.
Just to know what's happening in Denmark.
Just to see what's happening in Denmark and around the world. What else has this guy written? Oh, it's his email address.
Okay.
I don't want to fucking mail him.
No, that's
hey, I read your article. I read your article on the best times to take a shit, and I really want to thank you.
For Niels.
This changed my life, Niels. Well, he also wrote this Gordon Ramsay thing.
Oh.
But this isn't a great article either. It's literally like, here's what Gordon Ramsay doesn't eat when he's on vacation. he doesn't eat food on a plane because he knows where it's been. He just eats in the restaurant before he gets on the plane.
He just doesn't
Done.
like writing very long articles, I guess.
Nice clickbait article, Niels.
Niels. I am...
What else?
What is that?
Classmate complaints about Lena's bare breast. She's unsuitable as an educator.
Okay, that's interesting.
This sounds good. Huge
It's in
debate.
Norway.
Huge debate in Norway about a 26-year-old Lena Antonson's suitability as a social worker. She's selling pictures of her breast for 79 crowns a piece.
Wow.
That's cheap.
79.
Yeah.
That's like going to the cinema, but instead of going to the cinema, you just see pictures of breasts
Yeah.
of a specific person. I guess that's the interesting part.
Oh, she's like getting money on Snapchat. Wait, what? You can wait.
Can you make money on Snapchat?
Can you
now?
make money on Snapchat?
Well, to be fair,
Oh, no.
if you have a Snapchat profile and using mobile pay, you can actually ask people to pay you money and then send them private pictures.
Yeah, well, 2 students, one from the class, has signed up for these pictures of their breasts. So
Yeah, no shit. If she was my teacher, maybe I would do it as well. I mean, I don't care about Lena, whoever she is, but if she was my teacher, I'd be a lot more inclined to pay. But then she probably wouldn't be my teacher for much longer.
Boy, there's now also read. Look at all these suggested articles.
It's all about breasts.
Hannah's naked breasts in class photo. Grandpa would be proud. Okay. Nikita's breasts. Pussy, an unknown hand. Show your crazy tan line. Okay.
This is extra blow. Okay.
This is extra blow. Hmm.
Is this Nikita? The Nikita, I think.
Yeah, this is
Kleistrup.
Kleistrup, yeah. She showed how a strong sun in a designer bikini can create funny marks on the human body. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's actually pretty funny.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, this is actually, this kind of stuff actually saw some exposure. So this whole article, I guess, is about her writing some shit in suntan lotion or doing different shapes. And then it's got a whole bunch of other pictures with like FISA on there, like tanned into their body.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite dangerous. It really raises your risk of skin cancer when you burn the other areas and only leave some areas.
Well, yeah, but that's not because you're writing something. It's just because you are burning your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get a tattoo.
Good job, Nikita.
A temporary tattoo.
Should we look at a little actual, like...
Yeah, let's see what's really happening over here.
Real news, real quick.
Seems a bit fake news. Can you call that fake news?
The weather's fucking nice. I can tell you, without even
so
looking
nice.
at the fucking news right now, I can tell you. 17
like
degrees.
17 degrees.
It feels great. You can wear a t-shirt outside. You maybe don't want to wear a t-shirt all day, but
No.
like maybe a long sleeve shirt over it or like a hoodie. Holy shit, the sun is out. I almost forgot that good weather exists in this fucking country.
Yeah, it's back for today and tomorrow, I think.
And then it's back to winter, right?
I don't know if winter, but it's gonna be like lowest 5 degrees in 2 or 3 days. Yeah. But it's changing, you know. It's changing slowly but surely.
Man on a wire, a daredevil scales the tower in Copenhagen.
Which tower?
I don't know. What's this? How many towers are there in Copenhagen? A few.
Well.
He. I guess this is like a cell phone aerial. Denmark's highest natural point is a mere 170 meters above sea level. So, okay, this guy climbed a communications tower near Bispebjerg station.
Bispebjerg, okay. That's not so far. But it's quite...
How tall is this one?
Underwhelming. I saw something about 120 meters.
Yeah.
Tallest building is just 120
but
meters tall. No, that's in Herlev. Okay.
Hospital. All right, this is the most underwhelming article. Anyways, there's a daredevil climbing some
Was it
communications
Niels
tower.
writing it?
No, that's Ben Hamilton.
Ben.
That dude's lazy. Danish aid workers caught on camera encouraging black work.
By black work, I guess they mean...
like not paying taxes?
Yeah.
Homeless migrants have, in some cases, been steered towards seeking illegal employment as a last resort. Oh, yeah. There was some recent... I saw earlier this week. I haven't looked at it, but there was some article that was making all the rounds by TV2 on, like, illegal in Denmark. Like, they were going around and, I guess, seeing what like illegal residents or people who live here are doing.
So just tracking illegal people?
Mm-hmm.
Tracking as in just
Maybe not
following?
tracking. Yeah, just following them around, I guess, and filming their life and finding out what they're doing.
That's interesting. And what are they doing?
I don't know. I haven't read that particular article in full.
They're just trying to make a living, I presume.
Yeah, let's see. TV2. Oh, I guess they have some undercover reporters. TV2's undercover Pakistani reporter was told it was obviously risky working black. If, for example, they don't pay you, you can't do anything about it. We can't recommend black work, but if it's in order to survive, then you have to do what's necessary. Huh.
Okay, so just some undercover investigation stuff.
Yeah, I guess they just basically were talking to like some of these people that were having to work without paying taxes to survive. Yeah, they're saying it's dangerous and undermines society. I would agree, but honestly, what are you going to do if you need to eat some food?
Yeah, if you need to survive, fuck taxes, I guess. I would do the same.
Yeah. Oh, God, the border ID controls are moving onto the train soon. What the fuck?
Ooh.
The highly contentious ID border control situation on the Øresund Bridge looks to be finally moving in the right direction. How's this? Wait, after an agreement between Denmark and Sweden? This means that in 8 weeks' time, passengers will be able to remain on board during the ID checks. Okay, I guess that's better than having to get off. So the border control at Huli will end, and the border police will be able to check passengers' passports and IDs on the trains as they move.
All right, but that's only when you get to Sweden, right?
That's any time you leave Denmark and go to Sweden, or I guess, I believe it's just. Did they check it both ways or not? I think they just check it the other way.
I think it's only
because
one
you
way.
had all those like immigrants and stuff that were basically trying to get on the train to go to Sweden because everybody was like, "Oh, Sweden, the land of the free and happy and peaceful. We want to be there."
Mm-hmm.
And then they got there and they're like, "Fuck this place."
No, but you see it in the central station. So if you take the train there, if you go towards the central station, sorry, I meant at the airport. If you take the train at the airport towards the central station, you just go down there and
I know you have to get off. Or
but
you
if
walk
you go
down.
on the other direction, then you need to pass some guards who might check your ID or something like that.
Yeah, like if you're going towards Malmö,
towards Sweden,
towards Malmö. Yeah, I've had to do that.
I haven't.
It felt I went to Malmö like twice this year.
This year?
Yeah. Well, not this year. In the past year.
In the past year, okay.
So last year, but just for like some shopping, and then my dad came, and so I guess he wanted to say he'd been in Sweden.
Yeah.
It's about the least useful little passport stamp to go to Malmö. Like if you'd gone somewhere.
Did you get a passport
interesting? No, of course.
Okay.
It's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, I don't know. I went there. They checked my ID. It wasn't that big a deal, but I think it's stupid. You have to get off and switch trains.
Yeah, it's because of the refugees. Yeah.
Oh, there's a golfer being named as the new U.S. ambassador to Denmark. America's new ambassador to Denmark is the golfer John Daly.
Oh, I don't know who he is.
John Daly? You don't remember? I know this guy.
Actually, I think I've heard that name.
Yeah. He won the 1991 U.S. PGA and the 1995 British Open major golf tournaments.
And he's a Republican?
Yeah.
He's a friend of Trump?
He's a friend of Trump, it looks like, yeah. Trump's endorsement. So, yeah, they probably go outside and...
So that's the guy substituting the previous, like the gay guy that everybody loves?
Yeah, Frank Jensen. No, he's the mayor. What am I talking about?
Yeah, that's the mayor.
Who's the other guy? I don't remember that guy's name.
I forgot his name as well.
Huh.
I think he used to train at Butcher's lab.
Really?
Yeah, because he actually posted a picture on his Facebook of his last workout, or Butcher's posted a picture on their page of his last workout before leaving Denmark. So I guess he was maybe a regular there. Is that him?
Yeah.
Wow, what is he holding? It's liquor, I presume.
Yeah.
He has a cigarette in his mouth.
Well, he's got it's a cocktail. It's like raspberry tea and lemonade vodka cocktails.
All right.
And cigarette in his mouth, nice big gut, and a baseball T-shirt on.
That's the next ambassador.
Anyways, yeah, he's had a highly publicized battle with alcoholism, apparently.
Oh, he's coming to the right place, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's gonna feel good, man. Just to sit there and drink fucking Gameldansk all night. You know, what is it with golfers and being alcoholic, and on top of that, making up their own alcoholic drinks? Because you have the Arnold Palmer, and that's like iced tea and lemonade and vodka. And then you have the John Daly. His is like raspberry tea and lemonade and vodka.
Oh, I didn't know that.
These golfers, after they're done golfing, they like to go into the clubhouse and then just get wrecked and talk about how good they are.
Well, I never knew there was a pattern there. I have heard about the Arnold Palmer, but
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is, what it consists of.
But you haven't
And I
played
didn't
much
know
golf.
he was a golfer either. No.
We talked about golf a little bit on the last podcast. I played a little bit.
I have a friend
when I was young.
who's into golf. He's been playing since he was young, I think.
Yeah.
He's a bodybuilder. No.
The thing is, like, it's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing and peaceful if you're any good at it. If you're not, it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a rich man sport, unfortunately.
I do like golf. I mean, I've never really played it. I played mini golf, which I know is not quite the same. I do enjoy watching it from time to time. I do enjoy it as a sport, but I've never done it. And I think it must be much harder than it actually looks, like most things, I guess.
Well, I think in all honesty, the basic concept of it is relatively simple. And honestly, it just takes a little bit of practice. I bet if you hit like 300 to 500 balls at the driving range, you could at least start driving. And then putting is a little bit hard to gauge, but like you just try it out until you get decent at it.
Is putting harder than driving?
Uh,
Because I would imagine that drive would be the hardest for me.
I mean, the thing about driving is you're just trying to hit the ball really far and relatively straight.
That's the problem with straight. I
So
think.
yeah. In that sense, it's a little difficult to get that concept fully down because what you end up doing is like whiffing the ball and hitting it like 30 meters when you
Yeah.
wanted to hit it like 200. And but that still counts as a stroke.
Or the thing is, if the ball goes so far, like on a drive,
Yeah.
if you're just like 2 degrees off, it's gonna go a lot to the side.
Yeah, but 2 degrees is pretty good. Most people shank it like 10 to 30 degrees.
Well, yeah, it's just a random number. That
Yeah. But I mean, putting can be really challenging if the green is very fast and stuff. I don't know. Usually, people figure out what they're best at. There's driving, chipping, and putting, and I'm pretty good at chipping and putting. My driving is not the greatest in the world, but I'm actually quite good with the shorter wedges, like when you need to chip the ball, like maybe 90 meters, 70 meters, something like that. I'm pretty good at that. Anyways, I don't know. This golfer, he's an ambassador. Apparently, there's some photo of him here with Trump. Yeah, playing golf. Cool. Congrats.
Daily.
You're in the big boys club now.
You are the new ambassador of the country I live in.
Yeah, an alcoholic. That's good stuff.
Well, he used to. Maybe he's not anymore.
He literally just showed a picture of him holding 2 bottles of alcohol,
and the cigarette in his
mouth. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it's got his name on it. It's his own alcohol company as well. This is something I saw the other day too. Danish capital struggles with crime committed by foreigners. 3 out of 4 crime cases processed at the Copenhagen city court are committed by people from abroad. How do you feel about this?
Those foreigners.
Fucking foreigners coming in here taking our jobs.
Taking our crime statistics. It's like more crime for Danes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it's...
Do you think this is like politically motivated, the study? They like find a certain amount of crime. Do you think it's really true? I'm sure it is.
I think it's true. Because life is so good here that to be fair, I can easily imagine that the more people who are going to be bound to be committing crimes are people who come here, like the people who end up homeless.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't know, criminals. Yeah.
This is mainly about like pickpockets, it seems. Foreign criminals are responsible mostly for petty crimes such as pickpocketing, but some have also been arrested for prostitution or violent crimes. Most of them come from Eastern Europe, Turkey, Somalia, Iraq, Lebanon, and Pakistan.
Well, the thing is, you also, for example, just to pick up on prostitutes, because since I live on Istegel, it's a subject that I'm quite acquainted with.
Tell me about those prostitutes.
To a certain extent.
Sure. How deep is your experience?
It's very, very, very shallow.
Okay. You wouldn't say you have a depth of knowledge?
No, not in this subject.
Okay, but go on.
But I'm an observer. I'm like the Sherlock Holmes of prostitution.
Okay.
And what I have to say is the prostitutes that you see on the street, which I guess are the ones that are most prone to be caught by the police, none of them are Danish.
No.
They're mostly African.
Okay.
And then some are Eastern European.
Do you know where they're from in Africa? Like, if it's a specific country they come from, or it just
I do
doesn't?
not
It's
know.
like
I do not
a
know.
bunch of
I don't know
different
if
ones.
I don't know if it's from different ones or if it's from
Hmm.
mostly the same.
And
I really have no idea.
from what I've heard from some people, I don't ever really go in that area, especially like I've never really been around there too late at night. But some people, like
Oh,
Peter,
you see
has
them
told
during
me.
the day.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't really go there much at all, I guess. It's
Mhm.
probably a better statement. But Peter told me, I think you've told me, I think a few other people have told me, if like you're alone and you're a young guy or whatever, they're pretty aggressive, right? They're
Well,
like,
they can be.
they can be aggressive.
They can be. I only see that aggressiveness with the African prostitutes. So the Eastern Europeans, they're not as aggressive. I have a theory for this, but I don't know if it's true or if it's just in my mind.
Tell me the
but,
theory.
the theory is that since the Eastern European are white skinned, they get more clients, so they don't need to be. They're not as desperate, so to say. So they're less aggressive.
They're not as pushy.
Exactly. I have no idea if this is true or not, but it's just something I made up in my mind because the aggressive ones have always been black African.
Yeah. But do you think that there's, like, if, I wonder what their clientele is, if their clientele is mostly Danish or if their clientele is mostly foreigners as well.
I don't know. I have observed from my window a couple of times deals going on, even though I don't really live on the area where they're usually. I live further out than where they're usually standing.
Right.
I've seen 2 guys and a girl doing some kind of negotiation, like, but the girl was a prostitute, clearly.
Yeah. So you saw
And
a
they were
John
talking about
and a
money, and the
prostitute.
guys were British.
Okay.
Or at least maybe Australian, I don't know, but they had like a non-American English accent.
Like a thick accent.
Discernible. Like I could tell that they're not.
And you could
wasn't
hear them
American.
all the way from there? It was like,
Well, it was just
yelling.
from across the street.
Like shouting?
Yeah,
But I
it,
mean-
was, it was like 5 or 6 a.m., so
But I
there wasn't
mean,
any
from
any.
across the street. Holy shit! You got to be like, "Hey, can I get a hand job? How much is that hand job going to run me, girl? How many quid?"
I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I remember that she was saying there's an ATM over here, so that's why I figured out that there was
Yeah.
a negotiation,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
about
yeah.
money, you know.
Interesting.
And the other people that I've seen or that I've noticed talking to prostitutes have been usually more middle-aged men. So maybe
40, 50.
50 plus. Yeah, I'd say more around 50 plus years old.
Okay.
But again, I only see this when I walk past and I see it, so I usually don't stay for too long.
Yeah.
I don't know what the general clientele.
Yeah,
is
I was just curious because you don't see a whole lot of like. There's not an enormous amount of Africans here in Denmark. There's like I know a few, but I wonder what the percentage is. It's got to be pretty low.
I think it's low, but it also depends where you are. So if you go to Nopo, you're going to see a lot more than
100% true.
out here.
Yeah, yeah. And also if you're in like Christiania, you will see more as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. And they're talking here about this pickpocketing thing. Like if an Eastern European is arrested for pickpocketing, we have to pay for an interpreter, a court hearing, and possible imprisonment. It's much more expensive than if it was a Danish pickpocket.
Okay, so that's the issue.
But I mean, DSB, I think, is undergoing a new campaign to talk about pickpocketing, and they're constantly warning you on the train and the metro, like,
It's always been like that since I've
beware
been here the
of
whole time.
pickpockets.
I remember that.
And sometimes they even come on in the bus or in the train, like, not just the normal warning, but like they come on and they say, hey, there's known pickpockets working in the area right now.
okay.
Like, be careful.
I've never seen that.
It happened. We were coming home one Wednesday, and there was apparently some event at this new Royal Arena, some music thing, because the metro was like completely packed, and they set it on there. So
it's actually something I'm not very concerned about.
me either, but I hold on to my shit now that I had my bag taken once.
Yeah, I usually wear tight pants, so I really don't think anyone could take anything from my pants without me noticing.
I also feel pretty confident that nobody's gonna get my wallet or my keys off of my. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
nobody's going to get my stuff without me knowing.
I mean, sometimes I have trouble taking stuff out of my pockets myself, you know?
Yeah, the only thing I would be slightly worried about is if somebody, like if I was wearing my backpack on my back and I was kind of pushed up against people, like maybe somebody could open a pocket and pull something out without me noticing. But whenever I get on the train, I always take my backpack off and then I put it right between my legs. So it's like right under me, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm never really that worried. But okay, so this gives some more fuel to the people who don't like foreigners here in Denmark, I guess, this report. Good job, foreign criminals, making it worse for everybody. I don't know. What else is there? There wasn't really much. There's this jazz festival thing. Did you see the Copenhagen Jazz Festival thing? There was some.
No, but it's starting soon.
Well, it's starting soon, and apparently there was some anger or something. There is an Israeli musician, Alan Farber. He was informed that the Copenhagen Jazz Festival didn't accept Israeli musicians due to political reasons.
Ooh.
And he said, I'm writing this post in English because I think it's relevant to all of you. I just applied for the Copenhagen Jazz Festival. The reply was that, hi, Alan, for political reasons, we are not presenting artists from Israel these years. Unfortunately, regards, Kenneth.
Wow.
And he was saying it's hypocrisy to blame only one side. I think basically the guy or the people that run the festival came back and said that the term political reasons wasn't about political issues in terms of politics, but rather a policy, and that he didn't want to have like security problems. And let's see, Alan Farber represents a high-profile Israeli orchestra, and it will almost be 100% sure that Israeli VIPs will attend. And somebody just said, the deputy mayor for culture just said, hey, let the police and PET handle security issues and you focus on their music. I think that's the right approach.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, on one hand, I think they should be free to invite whoever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Or in this case, not invite someone based on whatever reasons they want.
That's 100% fair. I agree that they have the right. It's their festival. They can have whoever they want and not. But I think it's also a little bit silly to be like, oh, yeah, we don't want you here because we don't want the potential for some sort of, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're so worried about that.
Yeah, don't hold a festival.
Maybe you should talk
like
to the
that.
police and say, hey, we're going to have an Israeli artist. We have some concern that maybe there's going to be some retribution or some sort of possible attack since there's going to be high-profile Israelis here. Because, I mean, the police already guard the synagogue year-round, like 24 fucking hours a day. The one right near Fiostro, like when you're near Café Paludan and the university library.
On the side street.
Every single day I walk by, there's never been one time I haven't seen police out there. They're just there around the clock. And has anything even ever happened there? Like, I guess there's a reason that they're there all the time. Maybe in the past, some like firebombing or some attacks.
I think something happened once. Or I mean, once, at least like in the recent years.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was exactly.
And you don't have any idea what it was. I
can't remember. I'm sure we can find it if we search.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
can't we all just love each other? Why do people just like groups of people just have to hate each other so vehemently?
It's tricky. I don't know where I stand on this because
I don't either.
I think they should be free to do whatever the fuck they want, and if they don't want to bring some guy because it's going to be more hassle than what they want, then it's their prerogative, you know?
Yeah. Maybe they should have just worded it a little better then. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if it happened to me, I guess I would also just, hey, look at this. I don't think this is fair, because at least it will bring you some notoriety.
Some press or some
press,
attention.
and someone will learn about you.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That sounds interesting. 5 arrested in Amdrup shooting.
4 men have been charged over an incident in October that left a 21-year-old dead. This was a shooting that they thought was gang-related and possibly a reprisal for another shooting that had taken place earlier in Copenhagen's northwest quarter.
Yeah, Amdrup is not very far from...
It was a kiosk killing.
The center. It was in a kiosk that it happened?
Yeah, the 21-year-old appears to have been the intended target, and having been hit, was pursued into a nearby kiosk by the gunman, who then tried to shoot him at close range. The gun jammed, but the man later died from his injuries anyway. 4 of the 5 men arrested have been charged with murder and conspiracy to murder at Frederiksberg Court. The police are still deciding whether to charge the 5th man.
Okay, for it. How often do guns jam?
Guns generally don't. Okay. If you have a semi-automatic handgun, meaning every time you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out and you don't have to do anything, like you don't have to cock it again or anything like that. Not a revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the problem generally comes with a semi-automatic handgun. The number one way that it will quote unquote jam or otherwise fail to fire on the next shot. When you fire a semi-automatic, each time you fire it, of course the cartridge explodes, creates all those gases. It sends the slide backwards, and then there's a spring there that eventually catches, and then it sends the slide back forwards. So what it does when it on the backstroke, it ejects the shell that's already in, and on the forward stroke, a little piece strips the bullet off the top of the magazine, pulls it forward up into a ramp, and shoves it into the chamber again. And then the gun is again ready to fire. Um, when you fire the gun, you need to be holding it quite firmly, because for that slide action to work, you need to provide an opposite force. For every force, there needs to be an equal and opposite force or whatever. So when the slide starts to come back, if you're what's called limp wristing in the gun community, in other words, you're kind of holding the gun like a pussy, like you're not really fucking holding it like you mean it.
Yeah.
What happens is your whole hand comes back from the recoil. And so since your hand comes back and the slide is coming back, the slide doesn't have enough like opposite force to work like it's supposed to. So it never travels far enough backwards. So it never loads another round, or it doesn't currently eject, or it kind of halfway ejects the current one and it's called a stovepipe when this happens. The shell is ejected partially, but it didn't travel far enough backwards to fully fly the shell out. And then a stovepipe is when the shell is then gripped in between. When the slide tries to go forward, the shell is just stuck there. So that's like when people say that a gun, quote, jams, that's like the most common reason. You don't hold the gun like you mean it. Okay. The other way that can happen is if you're in close quarters with somebody with a semi-automatic handgun, like for instance, you're struggling with each other for the gun, and you have your hand on the guy's gun, and he shoots, and you're holding the slide in such a way that you prevent the slide action from working reliable and coming back.
Wow.
So like if you're ever like close quarters with a guy that has a semi-automatic handgun, try to grab the gun firmly by the slide, like if it's the worst case, because hopefully the guy only gets one shot off. You know what I mean? And it's also why a lot of people in the US, when they're doing concealed carry, a lot of people do tend to favor revolvers, because you can't jam a revolver. There's no amount of grabbing or shit that's going to prevent a revolver from shooting. And in that sense, it's more reliable.
But you need to cock it after each
not after
shot?
No. A revolver, you don't need to cock it. Usually they're double action, so it doesn't need to be cocked. If you want to carry a gun, you want a double action. So that's my guess. Either in the struggle, the guy was holding the slide and it prevented it. More than likely, most people here don't really seem to have any idea how to use a firearm properly. Probably he limp wristed it and it stopped shooting. Could have also had bad ammunition. I'm not sure. Like, that's another thing. The ammunition itself could have just been shit and failed to fire. So those are the three main reasons.
Okay.
Today you learned. Carry a revolver if you want to have self-defense.
Yeah, can you get a revolver as small as a...
No, you can get them quite small. The problem with revolvers tend to be that they're wider because they're bulky, because you have to have the cylinder. You can get like a very slim and sleek semi-automatic that's easier to carry on the inside of your pants. Revolvers, you can do the same, but you have to be a little more selective about which one you pick, and you have less capacity there. Usually you only have 5 or 6 rounds with a revolver, when some of those little semi-automatics can carry 7 plus 1 in the chamber and then another magazine, so you can quickly have like 15, 16 rounds of ammunition ready to go. And you can also reload them quicker. You can get some speed loading things for a revolver, and some people that practice with them are insanely fucking fast. Like, they can shoot all 6 rounds and reload the revolver in like 4 seconds flat and be ready to, yeah, like there's some like speed shooting guys that use these special speed clips or whatever. But if you're like a normal human being, it's much faster to reload. But you got to practice that shit. Honestly, it's a lot of practice. It's not like you're going to be like somebody in the movies without doing it. And really taking time and learning from an instructor that knows what he's talking about. And yeah, when you start doing things fast with a gun, bad things can happen. So you really got to think about like the procedure. But have you ever seen that video of of Keanu Reeves training for John Wick?
No.
He did some 3-gun training, which is where you shoot competitively. You shoot rifle, shotgun, and pistol at like a variety of targets in like a quote unquote real world scenario, right? Like you start with the gun in the holster, you're back to the targets. They start the timer, you turn around with the rifle, you take out like 25 targets here, and you run to this car and take out these targets here. Then you switch to a shotgun and do some close engagement, and then you finish off with a pistol or whatever. It's called 3-gun. And you're timed, and then also you're scored on accuracy and how many hits you made and all that. And when he was shooting for John Wick, he wanted all the gun scenes. And I haven't seen the movie, by the way, but I've heard it's really great. But he trained 3-gun, and there's a video of him shooting 3-gun, like taking out, I don't know, all these different targets with 3 different guns in like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. And it's impressive. Like you can tell he really put a lot of time into what he was doing. So that's cool. He did like all his own work on that film instead of having some stunt guy or some paid TV Hollywood shooter guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get paid for learning something like that,
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, just pay me to learn that, sure.
Yeah.
It's my job to learn. So I'd love if my job was just to learn stuff like that, or anything, really.
Yeah.
Just pay me to learn.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And then I walk in front of a camera for a couple of hours.
But yeah, the gun jammed.
Yeah, I just started thinking, like, if that stuff really happens that often, because I seem to hear a lot about
you seem to see it a lot in
jamming.
the news. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, again, the 3 main reasons: bad ammunition, holding a gun like a pussy, struggling for the gun with a semi-automatic. And jams are going to happen much more often in a semi-automatic than a revolver, obviously. But if you know what you're doing and you're following the right things, it's almost never going to happen if you're using good ammunition and a good pistol. Like any decent pistol, like a Glock, a Car, a Smith & Wesson. I don't know. There's so many different good ones now that are actually pretty reasonable in the U.S. Like you can buy a pretty badass handgun for about $300-400.
So you need to be a chump for it to jam, basically.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, there was that shooting here in at Fields Mall like 2 or 3 years ago, right around when we first moved in. It was some argument between 2 gangs or some groups of kids or something in the parking garage. And there was like 9 or 10 shots fired, I think I remember. And nobody was hit. you know what I mean? So like that seems to be, I mean, I guess we should all be thankful and lucky for it that nobody seems to really know how to use a gun here because they're not as accessible. I don't think it's as big in the culture. And probably rightfully so, man. Like I feel good that I don't have to carry a gun every day like I used to.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, of course, there's less usage of guns over here than in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But I seem to be under the impression that even in the States, like first that shooting a gun is much harder than what anyone thinks because they see it in movies and they see people shooting stuff like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can do that.
Because in the movies, it's like, oh, bam, one shot, he's dead immediately.
Yeah.
Like you hit him in the chest and he flew back 3 meters and then died on the spot within the first millisecond. It's actually not what happens in real life. Like you can shoot a guy like 5-6 times in the torso with a handgun and he can keep coming at you. You know, he might die in the next minute after slowly, but he's still going to have adrenaline and like, yeah. So all that shit is really overblown. Also, shooting a handgun accurately is hard.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
It's actually really hard because the barrel is very short. The barrel is maybe 6 centimeters at most, and the total overall length of the actual slide is maybe like, I don't know, 12 to 15 centimeters or something on a decent pistol. So your sight radius, in other words, the distance between the front and the rear sight is very short. So any slight off angle or anything like that, and the end result 7 meters away from you is going to be like significant, you know? Yeah. So like for instance, hitting a target at 7 meters away, standing with 2 hands on the gun, I can put, and like I actually know a little bit about what I'm doing now, but putting like all the bullets in a target that's like 10 centimeters wide, like a circle with a diameter of 10 centimeters, that seems like a pretty big target, right?
How far?
7 meters.
Yes. Yeah.
A 10 centimeter circle, like 10 centimeter diameter circle at 7 meters. You think you could hit that, like, right, every time?
Ooh, wait. 10 centimeters radius or diameter?
Diameter.
Oh no, okay, that's not that's not. I mean, I've shot guns before,
But
so
don't
at
you-
least I know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And no, I don't. At 7 meters, no, I don't think I could hit it every time.
Yeah, it's pretty tough actually. And everybody thinks they're just going to be like a fucking sniper. I mean, if you have a rifle, like that's why a rifle is so good. First off, a rifle just has incredible velocity, and so it has so much more power behind every single round. And on top of that, the sight radius is very long. Like the barrel is long. So you can hit something at 100 meters. You can hit a man-sized target at 100 meters standing with just the iron sights, like not even with a scope or anything. And you can
makes
do it
sense.
reliably.
I never thought about that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's all about the sight radius. That's why handguns are hard. And then the recoil, you have to learn how to manage that. And what happens is most people anticipate the recoil too much. So they preemptively
Move.
jerk the gun
Yeah.
down and to the left to try to like not look like they're getting blown away by the recoil.
Mhm.
And what they end up doing is being very inaccurate because of that. So yeah, it's a lot harder than people say in the movies. If you're going to carry a gun for self-defense, you need to train with it like at least every month. And before you actually start carrying it, you need to train for like at least a few months with it, with somebody who knows what they're doing and can teach you all the safe shit to do with it. How to make sure it's ready to go, how to make sure you holster it properly. Because most of the negligent discharges in the cases where you hear that people shot themselves, it's usually because they weren't handling the gun following the right rules, or they were doing something when they were holstering or unholstering the gun, and they got the trigger like caught in their pants loop or some other shit like that, and they shoot themselves in the leg and bleed out. It's not a very fun way to go.
Yeah, don't play with guns,
Mm-hmm.
or play with them in a safe environment.
Shit, we could just start a whole gun talk podcast, right?
I think I'd get bored.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really not that much into guns, and
No.
certainly not as much
we
as
could
you are.
we could have Heinrich on at some point and talk about guns.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure. He's a very opinionated man as well.
Yeah,
So
he
I'm
is.
sure you'll have a lot to say regardless of the subject.
And he'll definitely get up close to the mic.
Yes, that's true. You'll hear him as if it was right by your side, which is usually where he is.
Yeah.
When he's talking to you, he's very close to you.
Chest to chest. Like your sternum is touching his sternum when you're talking.
I don't know if I'd say chest, but at least the tips of your toes are going to be very close to each other. Yes. The chest depends on one's posture, I'll say.
Yeah. Heinrich's a good friend of ours. He's not known for basically respecting personal space too much, but I don't think it's because he intentionally is like a bad person.
It's just the way he is.
Naturally he wants to be close to you and in your face when he's talking. And it's because he actually wants to talk to you and like one-to-one, but sometimes you're just like, hey man, whoa, give me like half a meter space here. Like I can hear you. You're breathing into my lungs.
I once had an interesting discussion with a friend. He was Australian.
Yeah.
And he was the one who first made me aware that Europeans, and in this case Australians or Americans, they have different perceptions of what's standing too close to one another or not. So basically he was telling me that people in Europe, they, for example, hey, let me show you something on my phone. And you come close to see, and people in Europe tend to get much closer than people in other countries, or at least America and Australia.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what he was saying. He was Australian. But that's something he had noticed, that people in Europe used to... It's not that they respect personal space less, but his theory, or either his or mine that I came up with after he told me, I can't remember, but he was... the thing is, people in Europe have lived closer together than people in America or in Australia because there's so much more space.
Yeah, because of the landmass and stuff
so
like that.
so there is some kind of difference in what's someone's personal space or not, during your upbringing, which I think makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I think in Australia, I'm not too sure, but I think in Australia, you do have a little bit more of a macho culture, and the same in the US, right? So if like two guys are too close to each other, there might be some guy you're worried about next to you shouting, oh, that's gay, or, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's also some cultural aspect of it as well.
It could be.
Speaking of that, apparently Monday, isn't there the Pride Parade thing is soon? Or no? This
I don't
here
know.
video says like
I don't know what it
Monday
is.
they're waving the rainbow flag or something. Don't they have that Gay Pride Copenhagen thing every year?
Yeah, they do. I just don't know when during the year it is. I don't know if it's now or not.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
But I think it's usually during the weekend.
Is
I think
it
it's on a... Well, at least I have a friend
Pride
who...
Week?
Oh, it's a whole week. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, what? When is it? 2017 events. And there's one in May. Oh, this is an International Day Against Homophobia. 31st of May till 11th of June, Pride on Stage. Okay, so I guess the week is not until August.
No, okay, yeah, that's in
Okay.
August.
So this article on DR is just talking about something else with the rainbow flag. What is this talking about?
I don't know what Hulda means.
Hulda?
Yeah.
Hold, to hold, right? Or celebrate, okay. Procession celebrates the man behind the rainbow flag. Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. I thought it was, I just saw that article and I was like, oh, is it already Pride Week time?
I've never been to the Pride Parade.
I haven't really either. It's just during that whole week, like if you even live or work in the city, like you see that shit all around, everybody is just kind of running down the streets. And,
It is a big event. It is a big thing.
yeah, it's a huge
Like
thing.
I know a lot of non-gay people who go to the parade just because.
Yeah. It's like
it's
parties
a party.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically a party.
Yeah. Anita was fondled in Facta, waited for an hour on the police.
Facta was translated to facts.
Yeah. I guess that's plural or something. Anita last year was exposed to indecent exposure in Facta. The perpetrator was detained by 2 civilians for a full hour before the police arrived. She said it's one of the longest response times. Oh, this municipality, what is this? Lukstad?
Where?
Lukstad. It's in Vesthimmerlands Kommune. And it has one of the longest response times when calling 112. Huh.
So wait, she was fondled and she waited 1 hour for the police.
Yeah, some civilians like detained the guy. I guess he was like a serial masturbator.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a harken back to an earlier episode. She said that it gave her time to think about whether it's really the police she should call first if there's danger. This would be like perfect fuel for all those like right-wing conspiracy nut like gun fanatics that you have on the forums in the US.
She should be carrying a gun.
Yeah, she should carry a gun because when seconds count, police are minutes away. That's the quote. And to be fair, it is actually true. Like when you fucking need a gun, you need it right now. But yeah, I don't know if she actually needed a gun in this case, but probably just.
I haven't read the article, but I have a feeling that even if she was fondled, just her acknowledging that it happened would make the other person run away.
Let's see. What did he do? The man. What is this verb? Befamle. So the man. I don't know. It says he did befamle. I don't know this word, and I guess
fondled.
The man fondled and kissed this girl as she stood in the bottled room with her child, and she was frightened by the situation. It was super uncomfortable and anxiety provoking. You want to defend yourself, but you don't know what you can do. She said the staff called police, and then the police advised her to find a few strong guys that could help her keep the modesty infringer back. Holy shit, man. I mean, in the U.S., they would have shown up and just shot the guy right away and taken him out in a
Only
body
if he was
bag.
black.
Yeah, that's true, actually. He's reaching for something,
Wow, the news are kind of slow this week, huh?
Yeah, that's okay. We can talk about other shit.
Denmark's canon, gender equality.
That's a radio program.
Denmark's black past, what is that?
Anger smoldering remains of Danish slave abuse. This isn't a very good translation.
I don't know if it was in Denmark or somewhere in Scandinavia, but I remember seeing something about black people. I don't know if they were black or aboriginals from some place being actually put in some kind of zoo.
For almost 250 years, the West Indies was part of Denmark. Thousands of slaves were worked to death in sugar production.
Oh, yeah, because you used to have, Danes used to have some island around the Caribbean, right? Yeah.
March 31st is the 100th anniversary of Denmark. They sold and gave the West Indies to the United States.
They gave them away?
And it's celebrated on the islands. But the locals are not only a day of celebration. For many, it's a reminder of Denmark's use of their ancestors.
It's a bit stupid. Anyone would have done the same back then.
It's so crazy to see this word in an article. Like, you would never have this in the U.S. They'd be like,
Negroes?
That's racist. Yeah. You can't write that. I mean...
Yeah, maybe not in America, but I mean, Negroes literally just means black.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not.
Like, the article literally says 12 Negroes to the hospital in Christiansted. Or, I mean, it's translated poorly. But, I mean, the word is also in Danish, right?
No, but I don't think... Go back to the original. Put the mouse on top of it to see the original. Okay. Yeah, that's not the racial slur.
That's not the racial slur, but it's just like means like black people. 12 black people. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of like sensitivity around that in the US, and maybe it's oversensitive, maybe it's not. I mean, I don't want to start a thing here, but
yeah, but people in Denmark, I don't think they really care much about it. I was just
commenting on the fact that here it seems very nonchalant to say that. Where I'm from, it's like if you did that, you would have people like giving you hate mail.
Yeah.
And being like, that's super offensive.
Yeah, the States are a bit...
I guess the States is a place where it's just a bunch of people getting triggered by everything and just
nowadays
super sensitive about everything, and everything is like, that's offensive.
Yeah, and
it's
you can't offend anyone because if you do, you're a bad person.
Grow some fucking balls, man. Like, life is offensive. Shit hurts sometimes. Everything isn't perfect. Like, not everything is about you. And you can't have this society where you can't offend anybody, because then nobody can ever say any fucking idea that matters or anything that's even slightly controversial. I think that whole move to be like so overly politically correct is actually dangerous.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's one of the things that I don't know if it saddens me or if it actually makes me dislike the States, but I think it's mostly I just feel sad.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, don't be an asshole for the sake of being a fucking asshole, just to be like ultra inflammatory and offensive.
Well, yeah, but we don't need police for that.
At the same time, like, grow a fucking pair. Like, you know what I mean? Like, learn that, hey, some people are assholes. Some people are irritating and abrasive. Ignore them. And get away from them, or don't deal with them.
The worst thing is not even... I don't even feel that the worst thing is against the people who are, just use the same term, assholes, by definition, by the way they behave and they're conscious about it.
Yeah.
But it's
normal people.
Normal people who just say something that they don't even realize that it's offensive.
Yeah, well,
it might be, or that it might hurt someone's feelings or something like that.
Yeah, and then somebody just goes on and
I can't do that. Yeah. And then the people start feeling bad and start apologizing, and
and
because they're not that kind of people,
Yeah, it's like a normal person says something, and then it's like maybe recorded, and somebody then blows it up out of proportion, makes a big fucking deal about it, and then the person feels sorry. And then you actually empower... I think actually what it is a lot of those people that are, quote, offended, they want attention and they want like to be showered with attention and stuff like that. So they make a bigger fucking deal out of it than it really is, and then they see everybody's on their side and like in agreement. And so then it gives them, quote, like more power. And then they're like, oh, that felt good. I want to be offended more so I can like make a big fucking deal out of it. Like, they weren't really that fucking offended. They just made such a huge deal out of it,
Yeah, they want someone to acknowledge their existence.
Jesus Christ, man. It's like a bunch of trolls on the internet, like fucking...
And the thing is, then when people who actually like to troll, they see that they can trigger people this easily.
Yeah.
Then it's just, let's throw some logs onto the fire.
Yeah, it's like open season.
I understand because I behave a little bit like that. I don't think to such drastic extents to actually piss off people.
But you're kind of mischievous.
Yeah, exactly. When I see that there's something that people are like, oh, no, you can't do that, So you're like, oh, I want to do that.
So you're a bit of an instigator.
I think so, but I think I do it mostly for things that are not actually...
Like meaning,
too bad.
Not serious.
It's very innocuous stuff,
Yeah. Anyways, I just pointed that out with the article, but I don't know. I guess this is interesting. I didn't really realize that Denmark had a bunch of slave operations back in the day, but I guess it makes sense. Any of the big nations that had a really good navy or sailing vessels were involved in like the slave trade usually, and it was very profitable. a bit of a shame, but it
It's
is
it's
what it
it's
is.
it's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when everybody's behaving in a certain way,
Then it becomes kind
it
of
then becomes
normal.
the norm, you
Yeah,
know?
and then everybody does it, and you don't think anything of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, isn't that pretty much how the whole Nazi thing came about? It just like started to be more normal to do these things, and like it was like, oh, okay, like
I
people
guess
just kind
so.
of
And
went
they
along
just,
with
yeah,
it.
they just, I mean, I guess they need to be attracted to it in some way.
Yeah, and it needs to
But
start to get like a foothold. But then once it becomes somewhat accepted or normal,
yeah,
it
then you
becomes
can get
less.
away
You
with a
can
lot
get
more
away with
shit.
things that when you look back, you're like, how the fuck did people allow
Yeah.
that to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean the same stuff happens nowadays, maybe to smaller
Yeah.
degrees of let's say evilness or mischievousness or whatever you want to call it, but it just keeps happening. I think it's human nature, you know.
Hmm. Today begins the season of cheap ferry tickets for a number of Danish islands. Ferry departures to the island of Arrow are already sold out. Oh wait, this is a company, right? Arrow is a company. So
Where
what
does that company take us?
to some Danish islands, and they're apparently already sold out. Which islands?
Nostruno?
I think that island is too small. Huh. Yeah, man, it's gonna be season to go to some summer houses, some summer islands,
Yeah, let's
to the beach, to Christania,
let's hope that our friend Neil
to
recovers
Refshalun.
though.
Yeah, how's Neil doing? Have you talked to him recently?
I sent him a message yesterday, and
I've been really bad. I haven't texted him much.
I sent him a message yesterday, and he replied this morning, and he told me that he had been in the hospital for 9 days straight because low white
Blood cells. Yeah, because all
and
the
he's
radiation.
been back at home for 3 days now,
Yeah,
and he
it's not
he has
feeling.
been drinking some liquids, I think, or he's been able to ingest some liquid food now.
Yeah,
But he's still not like he's still just in bed, and
Yeah.
if he goes out to the park for like 30 minutes,
he's like immediately
then
tired.
yeah, he needs to come back home and he needs to rest and sleep for hours because so he's not really
Man, that
functional.
sucks.
But this is 2 weeks after the treatment is over, and that's also when the doctors predicted that
It would be
it's
the
going to
worst.
be the worst.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to be getting better from now on. And he mentioned that he'll stop by our workplace whenever he feels capable of doing so.
Nice. Yeah, our friend Neil had some cancer. What cancer in the neck or something like
Somewhere in the neck,
that? Yeah. Yeah, so he's been out of commission. They did a surgery to remove some of it, and then they did like radiation
Therapy.
Fucking cancer sucks, man.
Yeah.
That's like the worst. So some ferries. Yes, summer is fucking gonna be here. I don't know, man. There's just not much on the news. So what's going on in your world? What have you been up to lately?
I've been watching a lot of quantum physics documentaries for it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were talking about that.
I've been really interested in quantum physics and double slit experiment and stuff like that. It's just
what's the double slit experiment?
okay. The double slit experiment. If you haven't heard about it,
No, I don't know shit about quantum physics really. Or the double
so
slit
basically, the double slit experiment is: imagine you're shooting a photon.
light.
Yeah, but just one photon.
Okay.
Just one photon. So
Yeah.
just one particle slash
Oh, and
wave.
it goes to two places at the same time, or what?
And if you shoot it through through two slits, so there's two vertical slits,
Yeah.
and when you shoot it, it's a wave.
So you split the beam or something.
No, because when you shoot it, it goes out as a wave, not as a particle.
Okay.
And as it goes as a wave, it starts spreading like both left and right, like a ripple
Sure.
on the water.
Like a higher amount of
Yeah.
area.
And once it gets to the slits, it's basically going to start two waves on both the left and on the right slit. They're
Okay.
side by side.
Yeah.
And those two waves are eventually going to merge, and they're going to create a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So in front of those slits, you have it's not a wall, but it's something that will capture the electron in the photon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you see is that the pattern that emerges on that wall is not. It's like a bunch of stripes, vertical stripes, even behind the slits. So that means that the photon is not a particle that is just going through the slits and going forward, you know? Because even behind both slits, you see it spreading out as if it's a wave.
Okay.
It's easier seen than explained.
Sure. But so
And
what's so important about this
Well, the
particular
important
experiment?
thing is that it basically means that that it's a wave. It's not a particle. So even though you have an electron, you don't know. Like if you see the electron as a particle, it you shoot it through the slit. But if you see it as a wave, it can be anywhere where that wave
Exists on any part. No, but so you keep saying electron. You mean photon, right?
Photon.
This has
Well,
nothing to do with electrons necessarily.
Yes, but a photon. I might be a bit off here.
A photon is like a unit of light, or like some
yes,
small.
but a photon has energy, and an electron is the smallest amount of energy possible that you have in an atom.
Yeah, because you have electrons around the nucleus of the atom, and then depending on the amount of electrons, it's either positive or negatively charged.
But a photon has energy as well, and I think that energy might be electrons.
But light itself isn't comprised of atoms. Light is just like energy in its purest form.
Yes, it's like a capsule of energy. Yes.
Okay. So
anyway,
so instead of being a single particle of light, it's a wave of light, and basically that light exists anywhere along that wave. Or something.
Yes, you don't really know where that
you can't define its position.
That is going to be until you measure it, because after you measure it, then it's there always. So, for example, what they did as well is they put detectors after the slits.
Yeah.
So after the photon goes through the slit, you measure it, but before it hits the wall. And once you measure them after the slit, they just show the pattern as if they were a particle. So they only show up behind both slits. They don't show as the previous pattern as a wave. So that means that, for example, imagine if it still passes through the slits as a wave.
Yeah.
Then it gets measured. And then when it's measured, it's like, oh, let's go back in time and make sure that this only passes through this slit as a particle, because then it only shows the marking on the wall behind that slit. It doesn't show as if it's a wave. So it's almost like if you measure it, it stops being a wave.
Right, but that's the whole thing about quantum is like when you try to take like I think with quantum encryption and quantum communication and stuff, they want to use it because as soon as you try to intercept it, it changes it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you try to use the data in a way, it's not the same anymore. You like flip the state of it or something.
Well, I think what happens with computers and the way they want to use it in computers has more to do with what's called quantum entanglement.
Right.
So it is if you have, let's say a photon and you split it in two with some crystal.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that what I'm saying is going to be correct.
We're going to just preface this by saying neither of us is an expert in quantum physics or any of this stuff. But if you are and you're in the Copenhagen area, you should get in touch with us, and we should have you on the show. We'd probably love to talk about it. But so with that being said, whatever you're saying is probably most certainly going to be slightly wrong in some way, and there will be a guy in the crowd saying, "Ha, you're wrong. That's not right." But just tell me about it anyway.
Okay, so when you measure
with quantum entanglement,
yes, when you measure the photon, well, like if you split it in two and you measure it, the photon is going to have some angular momentum, so it's going to be spinning in one direction.
Okay.
And if you split it and you measure both of them, they will both have the exact opposite direction.
Okay.
So, knowing that, and knowing that you can, using a third particle, I'm terrible at explaining this.
My brain is going to start hurting.
My brain hurts just watching this,
all right,
let alone trying to explain it. Just look up quantum entanglement videos on YouTube. It's extremely fascinating.
And so you've just been watching those for a week?
Yes, basically this week I've been medicating myself and educating myself.
Medicating.
Medicating.
I know. Yeah, medicating. Just blend.
Medicating.
Medicating.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And I am really fascinated by it. And quantum tunneling, we didn't even start on that, but quantum
Okay.
tunneling basically means
Yeah,
that
yeah.
electrons can pass through walls.
So are there any
crazy.
are there any
Crazy.
yeah, are there any interesting implications for what we're going to do with this stuff or no? Like what's a real world scenario that's going
Oh.
to change the way we live
Oh,
forever?
I don't know.
No, we
But
don't know.
I mean, teleportation is
Possible?
theoretically possible.
Is it?
Theoretically possible.
That would
Yes,
be pretty cool.
Because you can basically, due to quantum entanglement, you can transport an.
You can like replicate something somewhere else or
Yes, I mean, you still need to transport
like the thing.
half of the photons, for example,
Mm-hmm.
to your destination. But once they're there, you can basically make a copy of
Yeah.
all the.
So what you're saying is we're going to be able to hopefully one day have those little replicators that they had on Star Trek where it's
Something
like
similar to that.
computer.
I believe so, yeah.
computer, make
The-
me a whatever, and
The
then it
thing
just
is,
appears.
for example, I can't just say, take me to the middle of the forest if there's no machine there already.
Yeah.
With half
Of the photons.
with half of the photons
Okay.
entangled with the ones that I am on where I am, you know?
But what I'm asking now is, for instance, let's say you want a machine that creates anything like at your request, like one of those Star Trek machines where you say, computer, make me a screwdriver, and then a screwdriver appears.
Yeah.
Does it mean you have to have a screwdriver already for it to like appear there? Or do you need the atoms, or like, do you need the materials, the building blocks? Like, I mean, of course,
No,
we can 3D print
You're going
things,
to need all
that's
the
different.
atoms and all
So you pretty much need
assembled the same way.
So you pretty much need one already.
Yes.
And you're not actually creating and replicating a new one. You're just moving and teleporting one that's somewhere to another location.
You are destroying
The old one.
the one you have in location A,
And
and
making
you are
it-
making an exact clone in location B.
Okay.
And when you say exact clone, it's not even just down to the atom. It's
like down to
the
everything.
everything,
Yeah.
basically.
That sounds kind of cool. I'd like to be able to teleport something somewhere instead of having to fly on fucking plane and take a shit in the toilet there.
I think they have been able to teleport very small particles, so probably electrons or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure they've done it like even for an atom.
That's interesting though. That's got some implications.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think this whole thing started because I heard Lawrence Krauss on Joe Rogan podcast Monday or Tuesday,
Yeah.
and he was talking about astrophysics and cosmology and stuff like that. But he put it in a way that me, as a pseudo layman,
You could understand.
I
it.
could understand.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated that I just went on a cosmology and
Like a binge.
Yeah, on quantum physics mostly. That's really what caught my attention right
You know
now. was
what? Whenever,
quantum
whenever you're
mechanics.
feeling like doing a binge of some movies, you should watch those movies I told you to watch.
Yeah,
I
but
can't
it's not
believe.
movies.
Look at guys. Come on. Rodolfo has not watched Schindler's List. He hasn't watched Forrest Gump. He hasn't watched Book of Eli, and he hasn't watched Super Troopers. Those are the 4 movies I told him he's got to watch.
Is that all from the 90s? I know, like Schindler's List is 93, Forrest Gump is 94.
Yeah, those were like the golden years for a movie. There was like a lot of good films put out around that time. But no, I think that Super Troopers was around the 2000 mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you only say that because you were a
I
certain
remember
age
it
when-
fondly,
yeah.
maybe when I saw it. Yeah, that's probably true as well. But you can't argue those were some good films. So
No, I'm not. And
you should fucking watch them, Dolph.
I haven't seen Forrest Gump, but I've seen Pulp Fiction, which came on the same year.
Yeah. I watched Pulp Fiction when I was like 12 or 13 years old. My mom took me to the theater and sat there with me while we watched it. It was like really uncomfortable for her because I was like, Mom, I want to watch Pulp Fiction. She's like, didn't know anything about it. So she takes me and she's like probably a little bit horrified, but like, well, whatever. He's a growing
But
boy.
I mean, it's different because the standards of the time are different than the standards
Yeah.
nowadays. But
At the time, it was considered
even-
incredibly like raunchy and like violent.
But
and,
even the violence there is over the top and comic bookish.
yeah, and it's nothing compared to what you see today, I think, generally. Although, to be fair, the gun scene in the back of the car when the guy gets his head splattered in the back of the car.
Yeah, but you don't see anything really gruesome. It's more like the idea, and you
Well,
see
the
some
body
fake
parts.
blood.
Yeah, fake
Well,
blood.
yeah, but
Anyways, you should watch those fucking movies, Dolph. I'm glad you're learning about quantum entanglement. You should learn more about
Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
yeah.
And just be prepared with like some tissues or whatever because you're going to cry near the end.
Am I?
Yeah. If you don't cry during Forrest Gump, if you give it a real serious watch, I think something's wrong with you. I think you're like a psychopath or something.
You know, I think I've only cried once, at least that I can actively remember.
Have you
crying
ever
at movies?
have you ever like started to hold back like man tears, you know? Like you like feel like you have a deep feeling, but you're like I'm not going to cry here, so I'm not going to,
No,
but
no.
I could.
No.
No? Really? Not even did you watch The Notebook?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you should watch The Notebook. You'll cry for sure. I want to see, like, I almost want to watch The Notebook with you and just watch you cry at the end. And I want to get like a little video recording of you crying.
Just
at
a
the end.
reaction video.
Yeah,
of
like
me.
a reaction video of you like having a
Okay,
deep
let's
feel.
do one thing. If this podcast ever becomes anything and we actually have fans and we allow the fans to vote for that, I will do it.
Okay.
I will do it.
So everybody's just gotta vote.
I need to do it for a bigger
Audience?
Well, I don't want to do it for. I don't want to waste 2 hours of my life to watch something just so I can potentially cry at the end.
Come on, man.
So
You gotta
I
let,
need
it,
to
you
do
gotta
it
let
for-
those feels out.
I'll let them out in other ways. I'll watch MMA and Shadowbox.
Yeah, but that's not gonna let out tears and sadness, is it?
No, well, some sadness sometimes because I don't want to see certain people lose. But it's a different kind of
all right.
sadness.
I don't
yeah.
think we're on the same page. You need to get in touch with your
I've,
emotional side.
Oh,
Rizal.
trust me, Ford. I have.
Are you so deep
I have
in
gotten
touch?
tears mostly from watching. When it comes to stuff like this, I've become
What do you cry
tear-eyed.
about? Do you ever cry or get teary eyed? What do you cry about?
usually if I really cry about something, it's
Yeah.
about something directed to me. Maybe that's narcissism 101.
Okay.
You know, but I usually only cry about stuff that either is happening to me or stuff that I don't like about myself or stuff like that. I don't cry very often, but I
No,
cry
me,
once in a
me
while.
either. But every now and then
But
you get that
the
feel.
times that the times that I've recently remembered crying or at least getting tear-eyed by external sources was when watching a documentary about refugees, like the recent thing about the refugees in Europe, you know?
Yeah.
That I've seen some Vice, I think it was from Vice. I've seen some like 10, 20 minute reports about them that I was actually in the middle of it. I was like, holy shit, this is someone else's mother.
Yeah,
and,
being
all
treated
those things, you
horribly
know?
or
And
like
I
all
was
these
like,
things happening.
oh, geez, this really makes me sad.
You know, the last time I got really teary-eyed when watching any kind of program or documentary or something like that is there's that whole series of quotes and stuff when Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking to the U.S. Congress about trying to save NASA and get like a more budget for NASA, and he was talking about how like we basically used to be great, like we sent a man to the moon like within 10 years. We just said we're going to do it and we did it, and it led to all this like innovation and improvements in everyday life, like things that you don't even realize were created by the space program that were created and like whole fields of scientists and kids when they grow up want to be like a chemist or a scientist or a mathematician. Like it gives people something better to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
And like Congress just killed all that once they realized we could go to the moon and we had high ground if there was a war. Like the whole reason we went because we were at war and we didn't want Russia to have high ground on the moon. So like once we went and we realized we could, then we were like, all right, fuck this, we're done. We proved our point. And we stopped like so many programs and cut so much budget. And like it was actually really sad to me, like from a perspective of humankind. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I understand.
I don't know. I just, and for me, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson is not, I think I talked maybe with Sergio about this, but I'm not so wild about him necessarily anymore. Like I thought there was a point where he was really popular, and then there was some incident with him that I guess he treated some people, like some university students that raised money for him to come there, like a bit of a real asshole.
Mm-hmm.
It was like on Reddit and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I've seen him a few times on Joe Rogan recently or fairly recently. And I tried to bring myself to watch it, and it was just kind of like he has this attitude now of like, science, cool. You know, like it doesn't really do it for me anymore, you know?
Yeah, I understand.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm not the biggest fan of him,
No.
but I do appreciate the fact that since he has such a large following and people actually listen to him,
Sure.
and I mostly agree to most of the stuff he says,
Yeah.
then I do feel
Like I don't
a
think
general likeness.
Yeah. I don't
towards
think he's a
him, you
bad
know?
person. I don't dislike him. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there was a super rise in his popularity, and like maybe not that he let it go to his head, but also maybe just that I think he was a little bit overblown. Like, yeah, it's cool. There's a guy that likes science. He can talk about it. Like, I'm glad on one hand that there's so many people that seem to care about science in a world where we elected a president that doesn't even fucking believe in climate change.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I just felt like it was so overdone, and it's just like he could go on stage and say, "Haha, atoms," and people would start clapping. You know, like,
Yeah.
come on, guys, it's like a little too easily impressed.
Yeah, there's probably a bit of how do you call it? Not necessarily a cult, but like some kind of
like a cult-like
idolization.
following, or-
Like some idolization.
Yeah, people who thinks he like walks on water and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm happy that we have someone who is a somewhat good communicator. I don't think he's the best, but he's clearly not the worst. And scientifically, like no, like he knows a lot about
like
science.
I think it's important for kids to have some sort of role model of like science and stuff like that. And for that, I think it's good. I just think I tried to watch some podcasts with him recently, and I just couldn't handle it. Like I was like, just get to the point already. Talk about something interesting. And maybe it's like, you know, sometimes I feel like we're talking about something interesting, and maybe it's just rambling on and people don't care, you know? So it's, I guess it's easy to say. But anyways,
if you listen to the recent podcast, with Lawrence Cross, you'll go.
I like it.
I don't know if you like it, and it's not about. He doesn't talk much about quantum theory,
but you think I like it.
He talks mostly about cosmology, so about universes and about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I loved it, and it just triggered me to spend the rest of the week reading about some hardcore physics.
When you think about the scale of the fucking universe and that like how insignificant and lucky and everything we must be to even be here talking to each other and like floating around on a rock in space powered by a sun that just happens to be like the perfect distance and all this shit. Holy fuck, man. There's gotta be other life out there somewhere, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, that we're not the only people in the entire fucking universe. We're not the only living being in the entire universe. There's no doubt about it. It's just whether we'll ever find or communicate.
Just probability speaking, or not.
No, I don't think we are. I'm just saying, probability speaking, it may be very difficult for those different people to communicate or find each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless there's already something out there that's so advanced, like way far more advanced than we are, it's more likely that probably somebody else that's very advanced would find us in our lifetime rather than us finding somebody else. Don't you think?
Well, it depends. I mean, if we're talking about during our lifetime, yes.
Well, let's say within the next 100 years, right?
Because we are not even close to having the technology to
even
communicate or know what's happening.
Even probably within the next 1,000 years.
Ooh, I think that gets a bit too far to.
What do you think civilization is going to look like in 1,000 years?
I really have no idea. 150 years ago, we were all using fucking steam engines.
150 years ago, we weren't even flying, right? Or right around, we weren't even flying.
No,
yet.
not really.
No, we weren't.
Exactly, we were just using steam engines. That's all we had.
Yeah.
Like we didn't really.
And horses and shit like that. So in 150, I'm just trying to think about in 500 years, are we still going to be on Earth?
It's crazy because
surely we will. But I mean, will we have another colony somewhere on a different planet?
500.
Yeah.
I think by 500 years, unless something tragic happens, like a third world war and things slow down a lot more.
Or some other.
I think we will have some kind of colony in some other planet. I don't know if we'll have people living there, if we're going to have robots, but we will have something in Mars or in the moon. Like, I mean, we already have rovers in the moon.
Yeah.
Relatively.
But that's even just within our own solar system. Then, like, in 1,000 years, do you think we'll start, like, having real deep space transport, like, where we're going to other solar systems?
I think that also depends on... I'm not acquainted with the numbers, so I don't know how long it takes to go to the closest solar system that's not ours.
But no, you need something like... you need to be able to create a wormhole to realistically do anything interesting with next solar systems, I think. Because it's like 21 light years or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long time, but...
I don't know. Anyways, just thinking about the future, it's exciting stuff. I think what's going to end up happening is we as society are going to end up fucking it up somehow. Some greedy or some warmongering assholes are going to push a big red button and fuck everything up.
I think that's kind of the biggest threat, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because it's not that's not going to stop something forever, but it can slow down things so much. I mean, it's what you're saying about the moon. Like, if after the moon landing, if they just kept using the same amount of resources to just
think about like
discover more.
Think about how big that program is when they decided to go to the moon. And after they did it, instead of saying, okay, we did it, let's all celebrate with some champagne. Instead, if they had said, okay, now we want to go on something bigger. We want to put a man on Mars, like back in the 70s or 80s. And they had worked until, maybe the 90s, they finally were able to do it or whatever. Like, and then after that, say, okay, we want to do something even better. We want to establish a colony or a mining thing with robots or whatever. Like, you're starting to see those ideas floated and become more popular now, especially with what SpaceX is doing and different companies. But it's just like we need to go faster because our planet is pretty much fucked in many ways.
Well, I think I'm more curious about doing it more for the curiosity of it rather than the let's escape this planet that we fucked up. I think we can still fix this.
Salvage it.
Yeah, the planet goes through a lot of shit, and unless you actually do something that will make every single human extinct, so humans extinct, it's generally gonna be difficult to exterminate us, I believe.
We're some hardy creatures.
Yeah, and you need to get rid of every single one of us, Like if we keep like 2,000 people, which is an insignificant amount compared to the 7 billion that exist nowadays, 2,000 people is more than enough to just recolonize the whole thing. It might take a while.
Yeah.
Might get some inbred issues, I don't know, but...
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe next podcast we should talk about some space stuff, maybe, if we don't have anything
we should
more.
Have Sergio.
Yeah, I know. We need to get some more microphones and a better setup to have a guest.
Yeah. But quantum entanglement...
All right, I'll look up some videos on it. Should we call it for today? I think it's been... How long has it been? It's a pretty long podcast today, isn't it?
I think we started... Oh, I might be wrong, but I think we started like 1.5 hours ago.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think maybe we should call it here because the last time when we tried to export that really long podcast, we were having some problems.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll call it here. We will be back next Saturday with another episode of Unfiltered Copenhagen. If you find the show interesting or you think you'd be a good guest, again, if you are an expert on quantum entanglement or space or something like that, when you're in the Copenhagen area, we'd love to talk to you.
Or if you're just cool.
Yeah, or if you're just a cool guy, or if you're a porn historian.
Yeah, we need to find out.
We need a Danish pornography.
It doesn't need to be Danish.
Historian. Well, okay, fair enough. A regular porn historian will do, but if you're a Danish, it is especially good because then we can talk about the culture and how that all came about here, and it was the first country to legalize porn, I think.
Yeah, or if you know something weird.
I want to know what the fetish was when it was first made legal.
What do you want to?
I don't know. It's like
hazard a guess.
Do I want to hazard a guess? I don't know. So like missionary standard position. I don't know. I have no idea. It probably wasn't like gapers and all this crazy shit you see
I
nowadays.
think that came when people got bored with the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what. Yeah, just someone naked. That's the fetish.
All right. Until next time.
Bye-bye.